Hello everyone, Mike here again, back with another Magic the Gathering deck video. Going to be showing you my white and green humans deck. There's a few angels splashed in there as well. This deck features cards from Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck. Okay, starting out with our lands, I have 13 plains. We then have 9 forests and 2 fortified village. As it enters the battlefield, I can reveal a forest or plains card from my hand. If I don't do that, it enters the battlefield tapped. Enters normally if I reveal a forest or plains, and then it taps for either green or white. We're going to move into our creatures. First up, I have 1 Bruna the Fading Light, 5 and 2 white for a 5/7. When I cast Bruna the Fading Light, I may return target angel or human creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield. It also has flying and vigilance, and it melds with Gisela the Broken Blade. Next up, I have Gisela the Broken Blade, 2 and 2 white for a 4/3 with flying, first strike, and lifelink. Beginning of your end step, if you own and control both Gisela the Broken Blade and a creature named Bruna the Fading Light, exile them, then meld them into Brisella Voice of Nightmares, which is this right here. Brisella Voice of Nightmares. So it has flying, first strike, vigilance, lifelink. Your opponents can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. Next up, we have 2 Handweaver Militia Captains. 1 and a white for a 2/2. Beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform Handweaver Militia Captain. And it transforms into the Westvale Cult Leader. And its power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield. Next up, we have 2 Heron's Grace Champion. 2 green white for a 3/3 with flash and lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, other humans you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink until the end of turn. We have 2 Inspiring Captain. 3 and a white for a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. Have 2 Odric, Lunarch Marshal, 3 and a white for a 3/3. Beginning of each combat, creatures you control gain first strike until the end of turn if a creature you control has first strike. Same is true for flying, death touch, double strike, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, reach, skulk, trample, and vigilance. So basically, if I have any creature out that has an ability, during combat it'll grant that ability to all my other creatures. I have 1 Sigarda Heron's Grace, 3 green white for a 4/5 with flying. When you and human you control have hexproof, you pay 2 to exile a card from your graveyard to put a 1/1 white human soldier creature token onto the battlefield. So as you can see, if I have Odric out and I have Sigarda out or any of the other flying angels, it'll give all my other creatures flying during combat. Next up, I have 2 Thalia's Lancers, 3 and 2 white for a 4/4 with first strike. And when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for a legendary card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. And again, if I happen to have Odric out with the Lancers, basically everything else I control would also get first strike. We have 3 Thalia's Lieutenant. They're 1 and a white for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other human you control. Whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Thalia's Lieutenant. 3 of those. Have 2 Thalia Heretic Cathar. 2 and a white for a 3/2 with first strike. Creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So again, first strike, you pair her with Odric, and that'll grant first strike to everything else. We have 2 Veteran Cathar, 1 and a green for a 2/2. Also has the ability to pay 3 and a white. Target human gains double strike until the end of turn. So, of course, if I have Odric out and I give something double strike, it'll give everything double strike. And finally, we have 2 Woodland Patrol. 2 and a green for a 3/2 with Vigilance. Again, Odric out, this will give everything Vigilance. A few enchantments. So we have 2 Always Watching. 1 and 2 white. Non-token creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance. And we have 2 Griff's Boon. 1 white enchant creature. It gets +1/+0 and has flying. has the ability to pay 3 and a white to return it from the graveyard to the battlefield attached to a target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Couple instance, we just have 2 Woodcutter's Grit, 2 in a green. Target creature you control gains +3/+3 and gains hexproof until the end of turn. Essentially, if I give something hexproof and Eldritch is present, this will give everything hexproof temporarily. And finally, into our sorceries, I have 2 collective effort, 1 and 2 white. Has an escalate cost. So basically, you cast it for 1 and 2 white. You get to choose one of these options. You can destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Next up is destroy target enchantment, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature target player controls. And you can escalate by just tapping an untapped creature you control. Choose another option. We have 2 Declaration in Stone, which is 1 and a white. Exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. We have 2 Root Out, 2 in a green. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and investigate. So you can put a clue token onto the battlefield and you can pay 2, sacrifice it to draw a card. And finally, we have 2 Spectral Reserves, 3 in a white. Put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. Also gain 2 life. So basically, the main thing of this deck is getting Eldritch out and getting creatures out that'll give other creatures every other ability. I believe when I played this deck once, I had creatures that had flying, vigilance, and first strike. And another time I played, I had creatures that had flying, vigilance, first strike, and also lifelink. So those are 2 games that I actually won with this deck. And it's a pretty fun deck. Synergizes pretty well. I think it's a fun deck. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can check the deck out. I again want to thank everybody for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.